Yeah, sure. So Davos 2024, it was really more of the same. It's, an annual meeting. They get together. This would be the group I call the control oligarchs, which are the billionaires and bureaucrats plotting and scheming to dominate every aspect of our lives. We can get into what the whole 2024 agenda is, but going back to the very beginnings, it was founded by this guy, Klaus Schwab. He seems sort of like a Bond villain. He's shaved head, thick German accent. And, he seems like a sinister dude, kind of a caricature, maybe like a Dr. Evil type. Klaus Schwab is really, he started his career, he's a bit of a nerd. He was a professor, he's an academic type, not exactly the type of person you'd expect to set up, the billionaire's playground, the most exclusive country club in the world. He was raised in Germany, born in Regensburg, and his father, Eugen Schwab, was a engineer who worked for a company, Escher Wyss, which was a supplier to the Nazi war effort. And so the factory that Klaus Schwab's father ran was making things like flamethrowers that would be used against Allied troops. And Escher Wyss, the Swiss company, was actually working on nuclear technology for the Nazi effort. And so that is kind of the world that Klaus Schwab grew up in. Now, he was too young to actually participate in the Nazi war effort. But it's interesting because because of that experience, he was really not able to have a national identity. After the war, you can't really be proud of your heritage when you're the son of a Nazi wartime supplier. And it's very interesting because he goes to Harvard after he studies in Germany and Switzerland. He goes to Harvard, and that's where he gets linked up with Henry Kissinger. Now, Henry Kissinger is, a Jewish refugee of sorts, and he came to America. And so what could these two men possibly have in common? And the book really explores this, where because they didn't have a nation that they could identify with, they really considered themselves citizens of the world. And there's a lot of other people like this. George Soros, for example, considers himself a citizen of the world. Now, they may have dual nationalities, but a lot of the control oligarchs, they don't really identify with a single nation. They use, various countries to get wealthy. David Rockefeller, for example, is a main character in the book. He has a quote at the top of chapter 1 where, America made the Rockefellers the richest family in world history for a time. You'd think he would be grateful, but this quote from David Rockefeller says, some even believe that my family and me are part of some cabal working against the interests of the United States, that we are trying to create a one world, if you will, with no nations or sovereignty, just kind of like an EU type organization. He says, if that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. And so Rockefeller, Kissinger, Klaus Schwab, these types, Soros, they don't love nations and national boundaries. They think there should be no boundaries. Soros is contributing greatly to the erosion of the boundaries of the United States. And so what is this really all about? This bringing in the border crisis that we're seeing a lot about right now. The number one goal of the control oligarchs, people like Klaus Schwab and even Bill Gates and George Soros, their number one goal is to transfer power and control away from nations towards international organizations, supranational organizations, things like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, and things that they control. And so when you realize that their number one goal is to sort of subvert national identities and nations and turn this into sort of a one world situation, all of their activities begin to make sense. And so, looking at Davos 2024, it's that, everything they're doing and working towards the future is about eroding national identities, national boundaries, and creating a one world type situation. And just, you asked about the history of the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab, he gets mentored by Henry Kissinger at Harvard. He then goes back to Germany and Switzerland, where he sets up the European Management Symposium. That was the precursor to Davos, the World Economic Forum. And really from the 1970s forward, he just starts collecting world leaders and powerful businessmen, types of various diplomats and NGO bureaucrat types. And they all start coming to Switzerland. He started with $6,000 in seed money, and now Davos collects over $300 million a year in sponsorships and membership fees and things like that. And so that's kind of the quick, in a nutshell, history of the World Economic Forum. It was created by globalists. They don't love nations. They love the idea of everybody kind of contributing to a one world system.